what I'll start off with is, now that you've had time to cogitate on last week's class or the week before, if you come up with any questions that you'd like me to talk about, I'd be happy to entertain those.
This is one thing, I get these, I'm not sure it relates exactly to what we were talking about, but I periodically, sometimes in little bursts, get, and I just got one, these notices that ostensibly from Gmail, who says there's, or Google, critical security alert for your linked Google account. And, you know, usually when I see these things, the typefaces and stuff suggest to me that it's not real.
That's probably true. I've gotten a few of those too, and then they
I
disappear
just
and then we
delete
get
them.
them again. Yeah, that's fine.
But you know, these companies, whether it's Google or Microsoft or whatever, must fight this battle every day.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is another form of hacking where if you respond, you may be giving up access, right?
It's possible, although I get most of my mail, the primary input from my mail is my PC, and I have full antivirus and email scamming, all that stuff on there. So
Yeah.
if I see something on there and happen to be, the message also came over to my iPad, I'll get rid of that. But otherwise, I don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a mistake, but
Well, it's just, you know, one way or another. So
it gets worse every
Yep.
time now. The phone calls and the scam, the phishing, all that stuff. It's just unbelievable.
Excuse me, are you Paul, right?
I am.
So, you can take it, should I put that you're here?
Yes, I'll trust you to authorize my
Okay,
attendance.
trust me, I'm not spamming you or something.
I remember my question.
Oh, what was it?
About.
I've forgotten.
It was something you said that reminded me. It's about editing pictures.
Yes.
Programs for editing pictures. I have something on here that does some editing.
Well, even Apple's iPhoto gives you a little bit of editing on the iPad, and but if you really want to do anything sophisticated, like change the contrast ratio or sharpen the pictures, it's better to have a better photo editor app. Like I think I mentioned before, I'm sort of partial to Photoshop Elements. And I mostly do the photo editing on my PC, and it's got a lot more capabilities for doing that. And, but you can do some fairly reasonable photo editing directly on your iPad. Depends what you need it for. So.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, but so they this Photoshop Elements has an app for iPad.
Photoshop has an app that runs on an iPad. Photoshop Elements doesn't have an iPad app. It's a PC or Mac app. But I believe that you can get Photoshop itself. There's a Photoshop app. Hold on a second. I think I even have it on here. I may not have it on here, but oops. Well, there are ones on the store you can get. Some of them are even free, as I remember. Oh, Photoshop Express. That's the one you can get that runs on
But that's for the PC, I mean, yeah, that's for the PC, the Photoshop Express.
I think Photoshop Express is just for the iPad, but it's
Oh,
it's
okay.
derived from the full Photoshop application, as I
Okay.
recall. If you look on the App Store, there's numerous photo editors, a lot of which are free. So
Yeah.
there's a fair.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the primary things people use iPads for. So.
Thank you.
See, there you go. So Here's, I brought up my local photo from the camera roll, and you can use it, let's see what we can do here. So here you can do looks, you can draw on top of it, things like that. That's what I've got up right now. So I took one of my pictures, and if you have Photoshop Elements installed, you can bring it up and you can do some editing tricks. You can type on it with text.
Is there an app that, for instance, that could take you and make you look as young as the other people in the picture?
Yeah, I'm waiting for that one.
Well,
I wanted to do it
there
in real
is
life,
something.
though.
Photoshopping there.
Yeah. All right, let's see, where were we here? Okay, so where we left off last time was, I believe, this slide. Was going to talk about multitasking and drag and drop, but I decided it was we were close to the end, and I said it was a little too much to talk about, because it's going to take a few minutes to explain. So I think we did the control center, we did the dock. What we didn't do are the last two on this screen. So let me talk about multitasking. This was a very cool capability that got added with iOS 11. So if you have earlier than iOS 11, you can't do it. But what it does is it allows you to do a lot of things that people have been used to for a while on Macs and PCs directly. You can have more than one app open, side by side, for example, and you can drag and drop between them. And they make it very easy to do here. So for example, let's see, I have notes, what I was going to show. So for example, one of the things you could do is bring up mail, do a new message. So I'm going to start a new message. And what I'm going to do is bring up a second application and drag a photo from it into it. So the way you do a second application, there's actually a couple ways, but the primary way you do it is you drag up from the bottom, which brings up the dock. Remember I mentioned that one of the things they changed in iOS 11 is the dock can always be accessed. So for example, if I want the Photos app to be up at the same time, what I do is you hold on, you notice that it's like highlighted a little and it's sort of jiggly. And what I do is I drag it over to the right side of the screen, and now they're both open.
Okay.
What's nice about this is if I want, I can take a photo from here. I can select the photo. Whoops, sorry about that. I can select the photo and drag and drop it into my mail message.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
So, and you can do that between most applications. So you can drag a photo into Word, you can drag it into Pages, or any of the other applications for the most part. So it's very useful. So if I want to bring another photo in, I can just do the same sort of thing again. So I brought that photo in too. If you want to delete it, you just select it in the app and delete. But that's got to do with the message, the mail, not to do with the drag and drop.
I'm sorry, could you just show me again how you deleted it?
Oh, I just selected it.
I'm sorry.
You notice it's got a little sort of blue, light blue outline on the right side. That means it's selected object on the screen. I'm sorry, does everybody know what the word object means when it comes to things like this? Just to clarify, so an object is a picture, it may be a group of artwork, it's something that usually it'll show up with either handles or an outline around it, and that means that thing is selected.
So how did you select it?
You just tapped on it.
Oh, all right. You
So if I
touched on
tap
the
on it,
picture.
it goes, see,
Okay.
notice the blue, it's hard to see, but the blue,
There's a blue
down
outline.
Oh, I just don't see it. Okay.
Well, let me turn the
here.
lights
See that
down.
blue line? Oh yeah, that might
I
help.
think
It's
so.
right over there. I know, it's behind the easel board, yeah.
We're gonna turn the lights.
Is that
down.
okay with everybody?
Yes.
Yeah, it might be a little easier to see. So once it's selected, I just have to hit the back button, which doesn't delete, this.
Okay.
What I haven't been able to do is to bring up a for instance, my mail, and then get those pictures. Get that road down at the bottom that you have, you did something about
Which row?
sliding up from the bottom.
The dock,
The
The
dock.
Oh, you should be able to take your finger
Yeah.
and just from the bottom of the screen, drag up. And if you've got a dock, it should show up.
It does, but then what it does is it takes the mail and brings it down into the dock.
Oh, you have to hold it. The problem is if you accidentally drag the mail onto the dock, it's gonna replace what was there if you don't have room to add another application.
There.
Okay, so you've got mail. Now do you have a second application open?
The,
Okay, drag your finger up from the bottom.
To get your dock. To
Oh,
get
you
your
don't
dock.
have it. Okay, yeah.
There
There
you
it
go.
is.
I used my left hand.
Ah, no, it's designed for left hand side. Anyway, dragging up from the bottom,
All right,
will bring
good.
up the dock. And then once you have the dock visible, then you can use it to open a second application. So if you're finished, the interesting thing about these is if I get out of this and then, for example, go to where it shows what apps are open, you notice that up on the right-hand side there, both those apps are grouped together. So you can bring that group back anytime like that. So you can delete them together, you can group them together, whatever.
Mhm.
Dave, I'm gonna show you. So here I am in my inbox. Here's my photos from the dock.
Don't know why it's not doing it for you. Of course, I haven't tried, I don't know that there's a difference with the mini for some reason. That should do it. Try the left side. I don't know what's not doing it, but I've never tried it on a mini. They have some restrictions because there's not a lot of screen real estate.
Right. Yeah, because I tried it like this at first, and I thought, well, maybe it needs the landscape.
It's possible it doesn't have enough screen
I'll
real
have-
estate to do split
Okay.
screen. I don't know that for a
He
fact.
tries, but fails.
So if I select it again and bring it back, it's still there with both applications. Now, for some reason, I don't need the the Photos app anymore. See this little, let me point it out, this little thing in the middle here?
Yeah.
That allows you to do two things. One, you can drag it. It's a little tough to get there. Occasionally, it's tough to get your finger on it, right? It's like a thumb bar. At any rate, what you should be able to do, and I don't know why it's not doing it for me, is you should be able to drag that little bar to the left or the right, and you can change the split ratio.
Oh.
So, let me see if I can, it's a kind of a narrow bar, so if I have big fingers, unfortunately. I didn't have a straight the other day.
You're trying to move the vertical black line
Right.
and reallocate space between the two.
Exactly, and you can do that. The other thing you can use it to do, if you drag it all the way to the right, it closes the application on the right side. So if you want to unsplit it, you can just drag that bar all the way to the right.
Gotcha.
And that essentially says, I don't need that app anymore, so they're not paired anymore. Should work here.
If you bring the line over to the right, does it make the photograph smaller?
It depends. It'll make the photograph bigger or smaller. If the photograph can be expanded, sometimes it
Yeah,
can't.
and
so.
right, but it can make it smaller. If you, I mean, I don't know, if you want to put several pictures in the message.
It's a little hard to grab occasionally, which is one of the things I don't like. At any rate.
Let me ask the reverse question.
Mhm.
Let's say somebody sends you an email with a picture in it. Can you use this
Yeah.
by taking it, dragging it from mail
Absolutely.
into the
You
photo?
can drag and drop pretty much from anywhere to anywhere, almost all applications. So if the message had a picture in it, and you want to drag it to the camera roll, you can just do the exact same thing.
Could I drag it from, since we just saw mine doesn't split apparently, but from the message and just drag it down to the photo icon in the dock?
I don't think you can do that. I think you have to actually drag it to the app itself. So.
Okay.
But you can also do a copy and paste. You can select it,
Yeah,
do
yeah.
copy and paste. There's always usually
Yeah.
more than one way of doing this.
Okay.
So, other than the fact that I can't get the splitter bar to work, right? Looks like it's trying to. Maybe it's gonna have something in it. Looks like it's trying. Oh no. Oh well, I don't know why it's not working today. I just did this morning just to make sure it was working properly, and I don't know why it's not. But at any rate, that's how it works. You can change the split ratio. Sometimes depending on what apps, you need more space for one versus the other. And if you want to get rid of one, you can get rid of either one simply by dragging to the left to get rid of the app on the left, or dragging to the right all the way off to the edge, and that gets rid of the one on the right.
I found out if you just try to go directly from right to left, on my screen anyway, nothing happens. But if I go slightly downward, it does drag that left-hand side of the screen over.
How did you do that again? I mean, you're supposed to be able to just grab that with your fingers, but.
See, if I just do this, just go directly across like this, I can't get that to move over. But if I go down slightly,
No, it's not doing it.
now I switch back to a right-handed.
Yeah, let me try my left hand on the little bar.
It's the built-in gremlin.
It's always happens while I'm in a class, right? So, well, take my word for it. Generally, it works. I don't know why
I just
it's
did
not.
it.
The thing I don't like about this from a user interface standpoint is it's a little hard to get your finger in the right place to do that drag. So I don't think Apple made the best decision as to how you grab it, but anyway.
Does stylus work better?
Pen, it's possible. I don't know if I have my pen connected right now. I have to go ahead and check. But I don't think that's gonna do any better
Okay.
job, but it's possible. At any rate, you get the basic idea.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll have better luck. I mean, the funny thing is, every other time I've done it, I was able to do that. Why it's not doing it right now, I don't know.
So much for history.
Yeah, exactly. So, at any rate, so I can, if I want to close them both together, I just, like all apps, I just drag it up to the top and that closes them both down. At least, they're still in memory, but it's closed down. Okay. So the next thing I was going to spend a little time talking about is one of the features they also added in iOS 11 is the ability to scan directly in Notes, get an image, and edit it so you can overlay it with markup. So, for example, if you've got a document and you want to sign it, you can do that. And the way that works is you go to Notes. Get rid of this one. This is exactly what I did.
Notes.
Do I need to- So the way this works is you tap the export button.
Which is the export button, let's see.
Export, which is the,
The one with the box with the arrow going up.
going up.
Oh, all right.
Why isn't it showing up? There should be a choice in here.
This one.
Let me see.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a share button. Yeah. I think that's the one.
Yeah, where is it?
Up there at the top, the second one. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Export.
Why isn't this working today? Must be my bad day for having things not work correctly. Oh, there it is, sorry. So you hit plus sign when you're in Notepad. And then you can say, scan documents.
Okay, say that once more,
Yeah,
please.
I didn't get that either.
What's that?
Well, I
Say
didn't-
that once more, please.
The title of what you're trying to do, is that what you're
I
asking?
just want him to repeat what he just said.
Oh, what I was talking about was scanning into Notepad and doing markup. Like it's just sort of writing on top of whatever you take a picture of.
For editing purposes.
Right. For example, like I said, add a signature to, let's say you take a scan of a form you want to fill out, that you can write over it in the blank sections with writing, so if you like.
Well, but to be sure, right now we're in notes, correct?
This is notes.
Yeah. And then what I missed was the next step. How do you set this up so that you can scan?
Okay, see that? I'm going to point it out on here. I'm missing this.
The box up there with the arrow?
No,
No, the
Plus
box.
sign?
the plus sign. That's
Oh,
my fault.
plus
Okay.
sign.
well,
So if you click the
Okay.
plus sign,
Yeah,
then you get a menu that says, take photo or video, scan documents. So if I click scan documents, it brings up the camera. And we'll take an example document here. And with the camera, let's see if I can get a good orientation on that document here. Not so easy with everything plugged in.
And
Okay, but I'm just gonna take one, even though it's not perfect.
take a picture.
Okay, so then what you get is you can edit the area of the scan. And you can say keep that scan. Okay, and then you can
And what did you
say,
press to get ready for next scan?
right, because you can scan more than one thing. So maybe we have a 3-page document, you can
Right.
scan each page. So once you got what you want, you just click save. Okay, so that picture is now in Notes. So there's that picture that I just took.
Okay.
Identified as new note, 2:28 PM up in the left.
Well, that's because I created the note first. You want to create the note first,
Yeah.
and then you add it with that, so. So then you, this is where I got mixed up, so you select it, and then you click the export button. And then there should be a markup in here, so there it is. You see that on the, see that one?
Oh, yes.
So then,
Makeup.
when you click markup, it brings up all the tools that you can draw over that. So I can select a pencil and a color, and make it red. And you can draw with your finger or
Cool.
with a pen. So you can edit this picture, and then when you're done, you select done, and then you can, that's part of the note that you just created.
And then you could send it to someone.
You could send it to someone, you could do whatever you want
Yeah.
at that point. So it's kind of nice. Like I said, probably the best use for it is an application or some sort of form you need to fill out, and you just want it to use your finger or an Apple pencil and fill in the blanks, and then use it for something.
Mhm.
Okay, any questions on that one? It doesn't sound like much, but it's quite useful, actually.
So, yeah, I can see it being, rather than having to, try and recopy something. key in.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work that well that way, so. Okay, so let's see. Okay. So we might have talked about, I can't remember if I started to talk about these. These are other things to be aware of if you're using iOS 11. I think I may have started to mention in last week's class that this notion of older 32-bit apps are now obsolete. So I should explain a little bit, because I've been in the computer business for so long, I know what this all means, but the bits number just tells you how many binary numbers there are in the basic storage unit for those things. So applications for a long time. The older ones were originally developed with what they call a 32-bit operating system. And so the result of that is the code and the storage is all using 32 bits per unit, essentially. So some time ago, this applies, by the way, to PCs and Macs as well. They all went to 64-bit systems because 64 bits turns out it's much more efficient for a lot of things. So eventually Apple decided that having to have the code in the operating system to handle both was getting to be a waste. And so they, just with iOS 11, said if it's a 32-bit app, it won't run anymore under iOS 11.
So, like the other day, I got a message on an app that I've had for years, and I tried to open it, and it said the developer needs upgrading.
Exactly. If you see that message, that's exactly what that means. Now, you can also find out yourself, and I'll show you that. So, what you can do is go to in the settings, and it's general, I always forget exactly where this is, about applications. Okay, so this list here, and I have a bunch of old apps I still have on my iPad, I haven't got rid of them yet. See where it says no updates available?
Yep.
This is the list of ones you have. And see, any of those I tried to run, you'll get that funny error message. It just means a lot of people, a lot of these early applications, the developers develop them and then it never was popular enough for them to support, so they stopped supporting it. That's usually a good indication.
Or they created an entirely new.
Yes, exactly. And you need to get either the new version or the new application, or it's just, you can't use it anymore.
Yep.
Okay, could you just press one of those and just show?
You have to do it, let me see if I can
I
find.
mean, is that a thing you can do,
Yeah, let me find one. Let's try this.
please?
So, I noticed brushes was one of those. This is the message.
Exactly.
Updated.
Brushes needs to be updated, and so forth.
Yep.
Most of the time what I found is, it's not. The developers essentially abandon that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one called Occasions, kept track of birthdays and that. I
People
got
are very
the message.
clever.
And then I went around and searched for it again, and there was Occasions Plus or something like that.
Right. Sometimes they have a completely new application. Sometimes they just aren't developing it anymore. But most major applications, they'll tell you at the time, or next time you do an app update, that, okay, this is the 64-bit version you're getting. So,
Mhm.
Okay. I think I might have started on this one too. iTunes no longer manages apps. Most of you may remember in the earlier versions of iTunes, the one that came out at the same time of iOS 11. So before that, you used to see apps in iTunes, and you could rearrange the screen layout and all that kind of stuff. iTunes, they decided iTunes was too much of a toolkit for everything, and it wasn't efficient for them to develop further on that. So apps are no longer in iTunes. So the way you have to get apps is through the App Store. That's the way you get apps.
But when it comes to rearranging them,
You still
do this
rearrange them.
drag and drop
On the screen.
on the screen.
You used to be able to do it directly in iTunes.
Right, but now it's an art form almost to get it just right at time your finger lift.
So you can still do everything you used to be able to do. It's just the way of doing it through iTunes is
Yep.
no longer there. I think this is the last one I think I talked about last week, was the changes to where to find home videos. So it used to be videos were a subsection under pictures,
Right.
and they're not anymore. So now the way you get to them is through the TV app. I gotta remember where this is on here.
Jim, remember that from last week?
What was that?
I remember you saying last week that your videos, or maybe you did, go immediately into your pictures, into your photos.
So what used to happen is you get to them through Photos, the Photos app. Now you get to them through the TV app. And what happens is you get here, I just opened the TV app, and then if I go to library, you can see home videos. That's a choice. So that's, you haven't lost them. It knows how to, if you upgrade to iOS 11, it will just take the ones that you used to have in iPhoto and it moves them over into home videos.
And how did you get to this screen?
Okay, I'll go back. So the way you got to that, let me do it again, it's pretty quick. So you find the TV app, that's what it looks like, it's a little TV screen.
Yeah.
You push that, and then what happens is up on the upper left-hand corner, point down, where it says library, that's a drop down. If you drop that down,
Oh, I see.
you'll get home videos.
Yep. I have library down here.
Well, you can, I think there's a way you can put it over there too, so. So when you click home videos, that will just show you all the videos that you added yourself. Otherwise, the videos aren't touched and they're just where you access them is different. So.
Now, I know I have videos on here, but they didn't come up in this screen.
What are you in right now? Oh, because you're in recently added. Are you in photo or are you in the TV app?
I'm in library, on TV, then I went to library.
Yes. And then did you drop down the,
Now I have the library up there in the left-hand corner where you.
well, because you probably selected the top one, which is recently added. You want that one that says home videos. Here, I'll show it up on the screen here. So I hit library and then you see the next to this one here. That's home videos. And if you select that, that should be where you should find all your home videos.
See, in the drop-down screen up here where it says library, all that it shows is library.
Well, that's not the way, I'm trying to think what you, that's not, doesn't have the menu, oh, it's, I see, okay, wait a second, library. Oh, it just says you don't have any videos. Are you sure you had some on there?
I'm about 95% sure.
Well, because it doesn't, converting to iOS 11 does not delete them.
Oh, these are videos that I've taken. Is that when you're talking about videos? that's right.
Videos you've taken
Yeah.
and added to your photos library before.
Yeah.
So for example, if you imported a bunch of pictures which included videos, the videos should show up here.
Yeah. Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
I can't explain that because
Maybe I have them in the wrong place.
no, that's the right place. I don't understand because what it says is it can't find any.
You know, they don't, there's not like a sensor on here, is there? Like for instance, like I did a picture of me with a Speedo.
Well, the other thing I might suggest is if you
I'm joking about that.
No, I understand. If you remember the names or part of the name of any of those videos, because you can try to use search to find it. On the bottom, you notice there's a search choice.
See, these videos come up, these are movies.
Which one? Oh,
Yeah, I was only joking about that.
Remember, he was with the Chippendales
Yeah, that's right.
in a previous life.
But I think that you're mistaken, not a previous one.
Well, normally, I'm not sure why it's not working for you. Normally what happens is, as soon as you upgrade to iOS 11, it will just repoint all your videos you imported into your, these are not ones you bought off of iTunes, these are ones, your own videos that you.
Yeah. Let's go under here.
TV, that's photos, try TV.
Yeah, but that's what I initially tried. I'm trying to get rid of this screen.
Okay.
I was still doing
I
that.
can't try something.
Sure.
Okay, so what was one was that was actually coming up, so we'll
Yep.
get rid of that. And shall we just recently add, or just get rid of some of this stuff, right? Just get
Did you find them anywhere?
Well, we're
Did you
looking
try
for-
using search?
Okay, now where would we find search again?
if you went to the TV app at the bottom, on the right-hand side, there's an icon that says search.
Does the TV have the TV screen on it?
Yeah,
Probably.
Okay, that's what he pressed, so there's search. So now we're
on
in
the
the
bottom
search.
right, there should be like a magnifying.
there's-
Magnifying glass,
Press that, and then
and
you
then
can
you
type
can
in
type.
part of the name.
Right.
Nothing's, all right, TV app is up at the top, so then try, maybe type in videos up here.
No.
No, no.
You want a
No.
specific name of the video.
Like Speedo.
Speedos, yeah.
Listen,
All
So
right.
you press the magnifying glass, and then that should bring up a
No, he
little
didn't
box.
press the magnifying glass because nothing happened when he pressed the magnifying glass.
I can actually type where it says TV.
There's a
up.
TV app up at the top and he could type in up there.
Well, maybe the reason is because you have no videos, and so there's no point in
But
using
he says
search.
he does have videos.
I know, I just clicked on videos, we just.
we'll
put in
try
a-
to help you at the break.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, if they're not there, I'm not sure what we can do to find them again, so. But-
Okay.
Sorry, I don't have an explanation for that one. The next topic, which I'm actually not gonna talk too much about, is they made a lot of enhancements in Notes, so you can do more font changes and much more editing. One of the things which is, we'll talk about a little bit more, is they added the ability to tab and do a lot of other things like that. I would just encourage you to bring up Notes and experiment a little bit. So it has a lot more functionality than it used to have. You can make bulleted lists, you can paragraph, you can do all sorts of other stuff, including adding pictures, as I showed you with the drag and drop.
Would this be, I think I'm wrong here, I was gonna say, would this be the current version of the old McWrite?
Well, I don't think they would characterize it that way, but
Okay.
it's the equivalent on a PC of Notepad. Nope, it's just a place to enter raw text
Okay.
and things like that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll bring it up if you haven't seen it. So that's Notepad.
Yeah,
Notes.
we had a
So-
couple moments, right?
Right. So, but it has a lot more capabilities for doing things like
Play around is what
you
you're
can change fonts, and
Yeah,
you'll notice there's a lot of stuff up on the top here where you can actually you can tab right, tab left. You
Mhm.
can put grids in Notes now, so it's a lot more functional. It's not going to replace a word processor, but it's
Right.
free. So,
that's a
for
good-
just simple note taking, it's
Yep,
kind of
that's
nice.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is reader mode. Has anybody heard of reader mode? What, when you go to web pages, is the thing that annoys you the most?
Trying to find one.
Well, here, I'll give you an example. I'm going to bring up an example site on Safari here. So typically what they'll have is you might see ads, you'll
Mhm.
see things on the right-hand side.
Yep.
So what they have now is, and it's only specific to the page because not everyone supports it, is what they call reader mode. And what reader mode does is it makes it formatted nicely, gets rid of all the extraneous stuff that a lot of sites put on the left and right. Okay, so, no, it's not even showing
Now,
up.
this is after you've done a search in Safari.
Yeah, if you've gone to a site, I had this happen the last class too. I've done it myself. What should happen is up on the upper left-hand side of the search bar, there's supposed to be a little icon that tells you you're in reader mode or not.
It's like when you go to the garage with something wrong with your car, and then you get there and you can't demonstrate it.
There it is.
Oh,
See that? Okay. What I was looking for is this. When you see that in the bar where you normally enter your address,
ah.
that is the thing that gives you some options.
Ah.
Okay, so that puts it into reader mode, and you'll see because it's highlighted.
Mhm.
You notice the reader mode is much nicely formatted. It's printable in a better way, and so forth. So you can scroll through. It's a lot easier to read this way.
I understand. And I go back, just to confirm, I think I heard say this is only available using Safari.
It's only in Safari, and it's only in, the website has to allow it to happen. And most websites do, but some don't.
Because I usually use Chrome or something to search.
I don't think you can do this in
Okay,
Chrome.
that's fine. I just asking.
So the point is, you don't get distracted with all this other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, no, I
and it's
understand.
much nicer. It's a lot easier to read because
Sure.
it's nicely
No, I understand
formatted.
the benefit. I just don't use Safari that much.
That's something relatively new in Safari. And if you want to get out back to the way it was before, you can do this. So it gets rid of like the bar on top,
Mhm.
which has a bunch of stuff
So
that's
what did you press to get back to where you
Okay,
were?
I'll do it again. So again, what you need to do is
Find
press
that.
that.
Press that.
And you notice when I pressed it, it's highlighted.
Uh-huh.
So I can still go through here, but if I want to go back, you just touch it again.
Toggle.
Okay.
Now it's back to the way it was before.
Switch is on or off?
That's off.
That's off, it's
Right.
not highlighted.
I'm just saying it's a switch, so it's either on or
Right.
off.
Yeah,
Exactly.
toggle.
Yep. So it's useful, especially if you're, it makes it a lot easier to read. It's
Yep.
usually a slightly bigger type. It's just a lot easier to
Yep. Great.
manipulate. I think it's very helpful.
Because it is annoying when you get all these advertisements
Yes,
that you
it
don't
certainly
want to
is.
see.
And there is a way, there's an option in reader mode where you can actually automatically have it always open in reader mode.
Mm.
So you don't have to keep switching.
Yeah, that's nice. Because they are annoying.
So another feature that they added in iOS 11 and later is translations.
Okay.
So the easiest way for me to do is demonstrate this one. Say hello in French.
Bonjour. Bonjour.
It will take words or sentences or simple phrases, and it will. There's a bunch of languages it will translate. Let's try it.
And where do you have to be to do that?
Huh?
Where do you have to be?
You have to bring up Siri, which is the way you bring up Siri is you hold down the home button,
Right.
Just press the home button to get to the home screen.
and once you're in Siri, and the problem is you're not seeing it on here because there's certain things that just don't show up when you do external video. So what I do is it's going to ask me to say something. So let's try a different way. So
Did you hit translation? Is that what you do first?
no, you actually
sorry.
you don't have to hit translation. You just say
Just your
the
insides.
end of what you say has to be in some language. So for example, I could say.
How do you say?
How do you say school in German?
There you go.
Schule.
Schule.
And unfortunately you can't see it. It actually shows you what the English and the spelling is in German on the screen. Unfortunately, it doesn't show up when I do.
That's handy when you're traveling.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of
How
a
do you
useful
say,
thing.
where is the bathroom in
Exactly.
Mandarin?
That's
Exactly.
nice.
And you can actually, there's a button on here, you can repeat it again. But let's actually do that one. Where is the bathroom in Italian?
Dov'è il bagno?
Dove il bagno?
So if I press the play
Dov'è il
button,
bagno?
it'll just say it for me.
You could
And it
just,
spells it on the screen too, so
Yeah.
you can do that. So it's kind of cool.
it is.
For a quick translation, it's very useful.
Is that something you can do on iPhone as
Yeah,
well?
yeah, yeah, that's not specific to the iPad. Another feature, and let me pull up my example, is, does everybody know what a QR code is?
No.
I'm sure you've probably seen them, I had no idea what they were. It's often in the supermarket or department stores. Have you seen something that looks like this?
Newspaper ads are all over the place.
They're everywhere these days.
Can I see it?
Sure.
Oh, yes.
So what they are is, it's better than barcodes because you can embed, barcodes really are just a numeric product identifier. QR codes can have all sorts of information. You can have the store, the address, a link to go to more product information and so forth. So if you see one of those, what's nice is both on the iPhone and the iPad, you can do is bring in the camera mode, and it will recognize it automatically. Let me grab this for you here, so I'll bring up the camera.
Oh, I see, you just went right into camera.
It's part of the camera, and it's an automatic function, so if it recognizes one, so you notice how we put a square brackets around it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now it says, oh, that's a QR code, I know what to do. Sorry. Hard to hold this open while I do that.
It was first designed by the Japanese in 1994.
Is that right?
So when I've got it in with the brackets around it like that,
Mm-hmm.
that will give you the QR code. Context for the QR code. So it recognizes a contact, as people put it on business cards these days too. And it said,
I've seen
it's
that.
going to add a person and their email address. But it doesn't have to be an email address, it can be almost anything.
Okay, you need to say to us, you put the camera in front of it, and then what do?
Okay, I'll do it again just to show you.
Well,
Okay, so if, well, I'm going to take the case off because it's a lot easier for me to do some of this manipulations.
But it just
it just looks
takes the
at it.
pictures automatically.
Like
You
a
don't have to
screenshot.
press the,
No, what it does, what it's doing is it's automatically recognizing
Right.
it's a QR code.
but you don't have to press the camera button.
Oh,
You do if you
Oh.
want to actually recognize
Oh,
it.
you do?
Oh.
Okay.
So let's try this
so you
again.
sort of
So-
take a screenshot.
Photo.
Right, so see where it shows those, when you see brackets like that in the photo, that
Mhm.
means, oh, that's a QR code is what it's telling you.
Yeah.
And then when you take this picture,
Oh, okay, so you actually have taken the picture.
Yeah.
I don't think I got it, didn't get it as a QR code. No, hang on a second. It's a little hard for me to manipulate this while I'm trying to do everything else. Oh, there it is, it did recognize it. See, you don't even have to take the picture, it'll tell you what it means up on the top side, so you know it recognized it.
Okay.
And that works for any QR code. It's a universal standard, and it's more and more getting used to provide some. What's up in that info box can be anything. It could be a link. It could be more text. It can be a description. It could be a product ID. It could be almost anything,
Wow.
which is a lot more powerful than barcodes.
Yeah.
So that QR code essentially translated into the message you were seeing in the box
Yes,
at the top.
the message you see at the top says, "Oh, it's a contacts type QR code," and that's what it is. And what it's doing is found that it's a contact and knows the name, and you can actually have it automatically right away added to your contacts list. So you don't even have to save it at that
I
point.
see.
So it goes automatically to the contact list.
Well, I have to, you see, there's an icon. I have
Yes,
to
so I
press
have to
it,
press that one
Right.
to have it go.
and then it will be added as a contact.
Okay.
So Paul, the Japanese started this in the automotive industry. Originally, that was their thinking.
Well,
Makes sense, right?
yeah, it does make sense, and pretty much they use it for food items, department stores, pretty much
Yeah.
anything.
Oh, yeah, no, it's everywhere.
It
But
is
a lot of
everywhere.
people just use it to walk around the supermarket, and if you put your phone up to it, you can get information about it. You know, some applications even let you get, okay, show me other stores that carry it at a lower price kind of
Probably
thing.
have read something reader or something.
Yeah.
Or what country this tomato came from.
The only difference here is you don't have to get an app. This is built into the
Gotcha.
camera.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Any questions on that?
Good.
It's a nice, useful feature.
Similarly, I do my check deposits, except when things come right into focus of the right, it automatically flashes and you don't have to press the button.
You're talking about for checks. That's
Yeah.
different. It's actually not a QR code, but
Yeah,
most
but
banks, like Ledyard
yeah,
Bank in Hanover,
sure,
does that. You
yeah.
can put a check underneath the camera,
Yeah.
and it will deposit it for you.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that on here, but yeah, that's I use that all the time.
That's right.
Saves me having to go into the
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
bank.
Or-
So,
Yeah, and Ledyard has an app.
well, most of the major banks do, like
I wouldn't.
Bank of America has one. Almost every major bank these days has a mechanism of allowing you to do deposits.
Oh,
Okay. So, another thing that was changed at iOS 11 is how backups work. I can't show you this here, I just have a screenshot because this is principally happens through iTunes, wherever you back it up. So the way this works is, if you plug your device into your PC or Mac and you bring up iTunes, and you know how it shows a picture of the device up on top. When you go to the summary screen, it'll show you information about how backups are done. So this whole section here is associated with backups. Now, it used to be that backups were done automatically, and they were only done locally on your device. That's not true anymore. So you'll notice under backups, you can have it back up to the iCloud, or you can back up to the computer. So back up to the iCloud is new. And what's nice about that is, for example, if I'm traveling and I needed to restore my iPad, you can do that because I can just go online, go to restore backup, and as long as you identify yourself through your Apple ID, it will give you the choice of restoring the backup. Now, the local one means it's just stored on the hardware of your Mac or PC. And you have the choice of encrypting it too. So if you're worried about it on your local device and you're worried someone's going to get into it, you can check that encrypt local backup. That's also a new capability. And you'll notice it'll tell you when the last backup was done. You can also have it main. So generally backups happen as soon as you plug in and you say sync. It will do a backup first, but you can also do it manually. So you can just notice up on the right here, you can back up and restore using those buttons in iTunes. So I often keep both, and there's no harm in having a backup locally and a backup on the cloud, because depending where you are and what you're doing, one may be more convenient than the other.
Excuse me, could I ask a question, please?
Yeah, sure.
Now, you got into this by getting into what to get backups?
So the way you get to this is through iTunes.
Okay,
So
thank you.
I'm assuming you all have iTunes installed on either a Mac or a PC. You open iTunes. This is from my PC version. They look almost identical. And when you open iTunes up and you have your iPhone or iPad plugged into your PC or Mac, you'll see an icon up in the upper right-hand side here, and then when you click on that icon, it brings up this screen, which says, "Oh, it's my iPad Pro." And on the right, the first screen you usually get is the summary screen, which tells you what model do you have, how much memory does it have in it, what version of iOS do you have, and then how you want to do backups. And there's other options as well about syncing and so forth. But some of those have been there for a while. I assume you've all looked at this screen at some point in iTunes. This is how you can control what you sync for audiobooks, music, and so forth. Any questions on that? Well, okay, perfect time. This is break time, so I call this slide more fun stuff. So, photo editing is interesting because, let me skip the first section here for a moment. Just wanted to mention some of the applications that exist which integrate well with the iPhone and the iPad. I think I'd already mentioned Photoshop Elements really does a nice integration. iTunes recognizes Photoshop albums, and you can tell it, well, take that album, take this album, and transfer it over. So, as I mentioned, I think on the first day, I use that a lot for taking some particular album of family photos and bringing it with me if I'm going to visit relatives or friends or whatever. So Google Photos is actually a new app because it replaced, I don't know how many of you use Picasa.
I used to.
Picasa was pretty popular for a long time, but it's,
100 years ago.
yeah, it's obsolete now. And they have a new, different app called Google Photos, which is more or less the same thing. Very similar to the Apple Photos app. It lets you organize, bring your photos over and so forth. The other one I should mention is Adobe Photoshop Express, which is a minimized editing tool. It's not Photoshop Elements on them, but the difference is Photoshop Express you can run right on the iPad. There are also numerous slideshow making apps which are kind of nice too. I used to, I haven't done so much in a recent year or two, make a lot of slideshows. So you get a whole collection of pictures. It's kind of nice to put titles on them and add music and all that. Part of the reason I don't do that anymore is because of the top thing on this page. How many of you heard about memories in the Photos app? It's incredible. To me, it's amazing because it's one of the most powerful functions in your iPad, and very few people know about it.
You talked about genealogy.
Genealogy is different area.
Oh, sorry.
Memories has nothing to do with, it sounds like it should be, but it has to do with photo memories, is what they're really talking about.
Oh.
Genetic memory.
Yeah. So I will point out two places on the web where you can find out a lot more information, because the amount of data discussion about it is somewhat limited, even on in the manual I mentioned to you earlier. These two sites have very detailed information on how you can use the Memories app to do a lot of pretty cool things. So.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
When I'm looking at that line right under Apple Memories, how much of that do I have to put in to get to it? Do I
Whole
know?
thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
geez.
the problem is you can get to iPhone Life and then you can get the content, but then you're gonna have to look through their whole list of whatever articles they have published. You gotta give it the whole article name to get to the right thing,
Okay.
so.
Okay. So give me a second while I write it
Oh,
down.
go ahead.
Please?
I will put this up on the Google Drive site, so
Mhm.
you'll get access to it.
Okay.
And if you get access to the presentation on Google Web, you can just click on that link right on this in the page. So you don't have to write it down or copy it over to your browser. Okay, so let me show you. That's what's cool about this. So, it used to be, and before iOS 12, they had a separate, if you went to the Photos app, at the bottom, there was a thing called Memories. They changed it now. Do you have 11 on yours?
Yes.
I think it says, does it say Memories on the bottom? I think that's how they used to do
Let's
it.
see if I can find my photos. Yeah, it says photos, memories,
Right.
shared and albums.
It's the same application, although it's got a little more sophisticated. It's just that they buried it one more level deep.
Mhm. For
So,
you.
yes, it's in For You.
Mhm.
You see that For You at the bottom here?
Yeah.
So if you type that, that's how you get, mostly it's memories. What's really cool about the memories function is, initially, they're all created for you automatically. The iPad operating system is smart enough to know that if the photos were taken about the same date, they probably wanted to be organized in some fashion that makes sense to group those photos together. So what that does is it happens to take those photos and it makes a slideshow automatically. You don't even have to do anything. It just happens magically behind the scenes. So if you go to Memories, it'll show you the ones that it made. So let's see what I've got here. I got some really old ones. This is some family stuff. I'm having so much trouble. There we go. So here's what one looks like. These are all still pictures. So what it does is it puts music, puts effects in, so it does, like these fades and wipes and all that kind of stuff. That's all done for you automatically. And if there's a logical title for some grouping, it will put the titles in automatically and so forth. It really makes it easy for people to create slideshows without much trouble.
Can you edit the title?
Yes, that's the next topic I was going to talk about. So it turns out that you can actually do some pretty cool things with them, because you're perfectly free to edit them after the fact. So if you want to add other pictures and things like that. So if you click edit, when you're on, you have to be actually have at least played it once, so it knows which one you're talking about. And unfortunately, it's another example where it won't project, even though it's showing up on my iPad, it won't go to the screen here, which is just really painful. So what happens is, what it's showing here is a bunch of menus where you can change the titles, you can add additional photos, you can change the music that's being used, and you can change the duration of the slideshow and the duration of individual slides, and you can change transitions between the slides. All those are editable directly in a memory if you go to a specific memory. So it's, it's kind of nice because, let's say you have a bunch of photos, it will give you a start by putting one together, and if you want to edit it, you can. I think it's kind of cool and very powerful. Has anybody here used it or ever seen it?
It just showed up.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, they didn't make a big play about it, which is kind of surprising because it's a pretty powerful application.
Once in a while on Facebook, there's something I will pop, it'll say memories, and it'll have this and give you the option of posting it.
Yeah, it's nice. You can send it, you can use it. It makes a slideshow or essentially a video presentation. I've used these a lot in the past. I used a PC application myself to do these manually. It's pretty tedious to put these together. You got to drag the photos in. You got to decide what transition to use between each of them.
What's interesting here too is this, I don't know how many, I'd have to go back and see how many photos I took on this trip, but it only pulled 37. It self-selected.
Right, exactly.
37.
You can get more, but
Yeah.
it sort of self-selects based on subject or date. So it says, well, these probably are related because they're either within a few days of the same date or
Right.
have the same subject line or caption or whatever. So you're not excluded for getting other ones, but it makes it just helps. It just makes it easy to create
Yeah.
these kind of things.
I just ran one clip from a date where my photos, I'd taken them in the live mode, which gives you about
Oh,
1
that
second
2 second, right,
of video before. And so when I do it in memories, actually it looks like a video.
Right. It preserves that part of it.
Yeah, preserve that.
So you can, let's see what else we got here. This is a bunch of historical photos of my family, including my mother, who's not with us anymore, and others, so. But it automatically put this together. I didn't have to do anything about that either.
Oh, that's nice.
That's my mother when she was very young. That's my grandfather.
Oh.
A bunch of family pictures.
That's
All the
beautiful.
names are all on, so you added
That's
the
my
names
father.
or something.
Oh, yeah. That's beautiful.
These are really nice. When we've gone to family events, these are always very popular things, and people come and they always want to see these things.
Yeah.
My parents, who passed away a year and a half ago, they would, when I used to come visit, they'd always love to see these. So I'd bring my iPad and show them all these sort of things, and they thought it was great. So,
Condolences. That was recent, your parents passed away.
yeah, pretty recently.
Sorry.
Like I said, it happens, as we know,
Simultaneously?
within 2 months. I think what happened, my mother did pass away first, and my father just, I think,
Yeah.
was sort of a lost soul after my mother died. And, he just faded away.
Oh.
It's kind of unfortunate, but it happens to everybody, as we all know.
It's inevitable.
There was a nice headline in The Onion a couple of years ago, human death rate holds steady at 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe Donald Trump will argue that.
Wow,
too.
weird. Fake news.
Right, exactly. I don't know. At any rate,
Those old photos are lovely, aren't they?
yeah, but it's not just old photos. It's, my wife she's a pretty good photographer, and she's taken a lot of artistic photos. So if you want to put a photo slideshow together without having to use one of the fancier apps,
Yeah.
which are very good, but take a lot more work. These are fairly quick and easy to do.
Look
So.
at that one with the web.
But, I just pulled up one of these, and it seems kind of random.
The photos that it uses?
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember exactly what the rules are, but it has some artificial intelligence about trying to figure out which ones might be put together.
Yeah. Rid of elephants. Flower.
Nature, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Like one of my granddaughters.
Oh, those are beautiful.
But they just, that seems like a kind of random grouping.
Well, there is some artificial intelligence used to figure out which ones seem to go together.
Apart.
I wonder what the artificial intelligence.
I haven't read any article that tells you what the rules are it uses, but I mean, I find it kind of convenient.
I saw what happened here. This isn't actually an album. This is just a bunch of pictures that are strung out.
Oh, well,
together.
that's different.
Yeah.
Memories will generally, it can sometimes take it out of albums, but usually it just looks for, like you said, it's dates and titles or any other if you have facial recognition capabilities, it will use that to figure it out. Anyway, that's Memories, which if you want, I would encourage you all to play with. It's kind of, if you have time, it's a fun thing to play with. So the other thing I was just going to, a topic area is graphic design. Graphic design is distinguished by most people from photo editing is you're drawing shapes and things like that as opposed to pictures. So graphic design is usually used for signage, and, posters and things like that. And there's several good applications for that, including the one that's very popular is Inspire Pro. It's also one of these ones that can take advantage if you have an Apple Pencil, so you can actually draw on the screen and use that. So. And then the next major category, which probably a lot of people are familiar with, is movie editing. As you may or may not know, iMovie's available in not quite a sophisticated form, but pretty close, on your iPad. So you can actually do video editing locally on your iPad. And you can do things like, it's almost the same things you can do on iMovie and on the Macintosh. You can edit the videos, it'll show on the bottom. I have let me see if I can find it. I think these are just junk projects I put together. So if you select the movie and go in, it will give you, on the right-hand side on the bottom, it's a scrolling window which gives you all of the pictures that happen to be in there. You can insert more pictures and videos. You can add titles, all that kind of stuff you can do in iPhoto. Not, again, as sophisticated as some of the full-blown movie editing apps that are available on the Mac or PC, but if you're traveling, it's kind of convenient. So,
How do you get onto this?
it's iMovie is what it's called, and it's in the App Store. It's free. I don't think it gets installed automatically, but you can get it from the App Store.
Mm-hmm.
There are others like Premiere, and Premiere Elements, which are popular apps. There's obviously Adobe has applications for doing video editing. What did you say you use?
Premiere.
No, right. Premiere is a very popular. It's been around for a long time now, and it does a lot of pretty sophisticated things for transition, special effects, things like that. Depends how fancy you want to get. Even the Premiere Elements, which isn't the absolute full version of Premiere, it only costs. You can usually get it for like $79, and it does, I would say, 80 to 90% of what the full-blown Premiere does, and you pay a lot of money for it. So.
And if you do something in iMovie, can you import that project into
Not the project. You can import the video.
the video?
The videos are, if they're, they're usually saved in MPG or one of those formats,
All right.
and those are you can open and import into any of the video editing apps. But the project format is unique to that particular app. And usually, for some reason, unlike other applications like Word and PowerPoint, they don't have import capabilities from other applications stored. So, in that case, you might want to choose carefully, unless you don't care because you're not going to edit it any further, which application you decide you want to use.
Uh-huh.
So, they're fun. It's fun to do. Now that I'm retired these days, those are the kind of things that I play around with. So. I have a lot more time for that kind of stuff now. So. Pinnacle Pro is another one. That's on a PC. But again, you can export the formats in the standard format for movies that can be imported into your iPad. So usually it's MP4, which is what most of the videos that you see on YouTube are in. So if you want to make a movie for YouTube, you can use any of the various apps for that. Okay, back to some more quick tips that you might want to know about. You might ask, because you probably noticed, I have screenshots in here. Does anybody know how you take screenshots on an iPad?
No, but I'd love to.
Yeah, well, that's what I'll do next. So it's actually pretty easy. So let me go back to the home screen. So the way it works, if you want to take a screenshot of whatever you're looking at, what you do is you hold the power on off button, and then you press the up volume key.
Yeah, volume key.
Right. Well, you don't want to do anything on the screen because then you'll ruin your screenshots.
Yeah.
So if you do that, and then, oops. Didn't do it. Sometimes you hold that power key too long. It thinks you want to turn it off.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Oh, I'm sorry. On here it's the home button. They changed it on the newer iPad, the newest iPhone.
Yeah.
They don't have a home button anymore, so they have to have other ways of doing it. So I did this already this morning. So what you want is it's power button and the home button. So you notice what it did was it took a screenshot and
Yeah.
it shows it up on the lower left-hand corner.
Mhm.
That's like a regular picture, so you can do what you want with it at that point. It goes into your camera roll.
Mhm.
So you pressed.
It's the power, hold the power, and then press the home button.
Okay.
I made a
Yeah,
mistake.
that's what I
So
thought.
if you have one of the newer, the iPhone 10s models, those it's the
Yeah.
power button
Just
and the
throw it
up,
down.
down
That's
volume.
nice.
Hmm. Siri came up when I tried to do that.
Well, you have to hold the power button
Yeah.
and then press the home button.
Okay.
Some of these take a little bit of dexterity or something. You have to practice
Okay,
many times
yeah,
to get it to work
it
right.
did.
So.
Mhm.
So, tips about traveling if you've been in I assume a lot of you know what airplane mode means.
Mhm.
Can you just tell me once? Stupid me. What does it mean?
Airplane mode just, although they've changed the rules, a lot of airlines do not allow you to use Wi-Fi or to use any of the other internet wireless services. So what airplane mode does is it turns those off temporarily. So if you remember, we were talking about that, scroll down from the right side. So see up in the upper left-hand corner there? That's how you turn airplane mode on and off.
Yeah.
And what it does is it just temporarily disables
Yeah.
Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which
Right.
you're not supposed. Although they've changed it these days, both of those are allowed because a lot of planes now have Wi-Fi on the plane. So,
Yeah.
so airplane mode is getting to be a little bit.
Obsolete, yeah.
It's not obsolete yet, but a little bit. Okay. So controlling Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, I'm sure if you've traveled with your device, you know that depending where you are, you have to control which Wi-Fi you're connected to. Fortunately, the iPad and iOS will remember if it finds, if you're in a place that it remembers that Wi-Fi, like when I come in here, I've already
Yeah.
logged in once to the Dartmouth Public
Yeah.
here.
It's very
It will
nice.
just automatically switch to that.
It's very, very nice.
But if it's a new place, like somebody you've never connected to before, you can go to the network and go and have it and to the Wi-Fi control in the control panel, and you can allow it to find the Wi-Fi you want to connect to.
Remember the old days, we used to have to go to Wi-Fi cafes
Yes.
before you were born.
They still have them, actually, I believe. So, most people just go to, you can do it in almost all restaurants these days have Wi-Fi in
Sure.
the restaurants. So.
But in the old days, you had to find a place.
So, and then the other one is Bluetooth. I don't know if, does anybody here use or know what Bluetooth is?
I've got a vague idea. Interconnection.
It's another interconnection standard. I forget who invented it originally. It might even have been Microsoft, but it's pretty standard and everybody uses it now. It's for short range only. I think it's only good up to like 100 feet. And
Closer to 30.
some depends.
Yeah.
But what it does is it allows you to connect devices. It's usually used these days for peripheral devices, keypads, the Apple Pen. They all use Bluetooth.
Speaker.
Hearing
You
aids.
can use speakers for it. Yeah.
Hearing aids.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'll take your word for it. but yes, Bluetooth speakers, the pencil, and some have Bluetooth microphones, and you can just connect, pair. You understand? Does anybody know what pairing means?
Mm-hmm.
You have to, when you find, it'll find the device, and then you've got to go through some procedure to pair it. And it depends on the device as to how that works. But a good example of one that's a Bluetooth device is an Apple Pencil. Do any of you have an Apple Pencil?
No.
Kind of cool. I don't use it as much as I thought I would, but so the way that works, if you go to Bluetooth, what you can do usually is maybe I may have run out of power on my pencil. I guess I don't have power right at the moment.
Is that a battery inside it?
Yes, and it's kind of funny the way it works. See that? If you pull off the back, it plugs into your port on your
Right.
iPhone. Right. The only bad thing about that is you can't plug the power adapter in at the same time. So usually what I do is I'll fully charge my iPad and then plug this in.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the feeling I've run out of juice because I haven't used this for a week or two.
It doesn't take very long to charge.
No, it doesn't take very long to charge, and it will last for
Put it into this thing here.
Yep.
And all of these
Yes.
separate.
almost all the
Keypads
keypads
are
use it
all-
as well.
So what does it do? I mean,
What does Bluetooth do?
what, no, what does the pencil do?
Oh, It allows you to draw on the screen.
Okay,
It's,
that's
what
what I
it- what
thought.
the Apple Pencil does is it has,
So
It's
is this
pressure
an Apple
sensitive,
keyboard or is it
and
some
it
other
can, you
manufacturer?
can draw things. So
Well,
it's
it
better
was
than
sold as an
your
Apple
finger because
keyboard,
you have
but
much
it
finer
really
hand
is
control.
Yeah.
So
for
you can
PC because
draw on the screen
they
like
don't,
it's a pen.
they
Yeah.
don't have a command symbol, they have,
I don't
Oh,
have
the
a new
Windows
iPad, but I
symbol
have
here.
the upgraded to 12.
which is
and
one
I
of my
use the
complaints
pencil on
about
my
this
12.
keyboard.
Do you have Bluetooth on that iPad?
Yes, I
there,
think I
there are
do.
If you
many
do, it
others,
should-
but it's got
Just a minute,
extra
I'll
stuff
find
on
out
it
by
that was
going in
really
settings,
for a PC rather
Wi-Fi,
than an
Bluetooth.
iPad.
Yeah, if you got Bluetooth, it
It's
should go,
on.
should
But it
work.
works.
says it's on, so I can get a pencil and then I
Yeah.
get to play with
It's an
my...
expensive pencil,
Oh,
however.
how
They
mu-
cost
how mu-
about $100.
Oh, well, I'll have to think about
But
it.
it's, you know, if you happen to use it for fine drawing and painting,
Yeah.
there's really no substitute. And even when I was showing you before about using notes and scanning it and filling in the forms, you can do it with your finger, but it's a lot easier to sign and write with your pencil.
Mhm.
I
The
keep
newer
using-
cases even have a place, like this is on.
Right at
There's a
the
cat
top.
that goes down there. I'm always losing it.
Well, yeah, so you can clip it on like that, to my case.
So do I need to have Bluetooth on or not?
Yes, you gotta have it on if you wanna have a pencil.
Okay, otherwise...
You don't have to,
I
you don't
mean,
need,
other-
if you don't use it with a pencil or a speaker or a keyboard, you don't need to have it on.
Well, now it's the keyboard bit. I mean, what are you saying with using the keyboard?
Most keyboards connect to the iPad
Yeah.
through Bluetooth.
Oh,
This is a separate
oh,
keyboard.
the separate keyboard, not the
Right.
one that comes up on the
Oh,
screen.
no, not
No,
the
no,
touch.
I meant a physical keyboard.
Yeah,
Okay,
physical.
Yeah.
thank you. I'm gonna turn off my Bluetooth
So I happen to have a pair of wireless headphones that I use a lot, and that also is Bluetooth connected.
Mhm.
Pretty nice, because you don't have to have a wire plugged into your
Yeah.
device,
now.
so.
Oh, that's
Yes,
nice.
he mentioned about the hearing aid. It's wonderful with this.
Is it?
Yeah, wonderful with your cell phone, wonderful with your TV.
Oh,
We can hook it up to all those things.
Yeah, there's a lot of devices now. It's for local hardware connections, it's
Mhm.
the most common connection these
Right.
days.
that's great.
So,
So how does it work with your
And it's a
hearing aid?
hands-free kind of.
it's a hands-free, yeah, it's
You
got,
know,
it's a,
that-
The sound we're gonna do
it's a different technology to broadcast the signal,
You won't hear what
but it
they're
doesn't
saying.
work over
Only
long
I hear
range,
it.
as I said, so.
Okay. Now what about the TV? Is it easier to hear the TV if
For me it
you-
is,
with your Bluetooth on?
yeah.
Well, also a lot of remotes for TVs are Bluetooth. A lot of those now these days are Bluetooth devices too, so often you can get a Bluetooth
How neat.
device that you can use as a remote for this as well, so.
I used to have to crank up my television so I could hear it. Which meant my wife could hear it.
Well, then you might be better off to get Bluetooth headphones, then you can hear it and she doesn't have to.
Yeah, so he's playing into my hearing aids.
There
He
you
doesn't
go.
hear it.
That's great.
That's right.
That's super.
But does it just go to your hearing aid when you do that? No.
As far as I know.
Of course, I unfortunately don't need a hearing aid, so I don't
No.
know how that works.
Isn't that neat?
And you can control your TV from your iPad use your iPad as the remote.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
could I go, I have to try that.
But that's a little different. It doesn't, your iPad doesn't connect with the TV via Bluetooth usually.
No.
Usually it's through your network connection is usually.
You're right, through the network. If it's a smart TV.
I'll play. I'll play.
Yeah.
See.
Okay, so the next topic, which I mentioned, we were talking about briefly in the break, was Apple Pay. Apple Pay every day is getting more and more popular. It's by far the most commonly used way of people using their phones these days to just swipe it over where they used to put their credit card in. They don't need to anymore. You can just swipe your iPad, your iPhone over the credit card reader and it will take all the information and do it for you. So you have complete control over what accounts you want to connect to it. So you go in and you set it up so you can decide you can have one or more credit cards, and you can just use it to make purchases in a lot of places these days. Most of the card readers at stores, restaurants, and so forth all take Apple Pay. and it's pretty broadly used. It's by far more. We were talking about the one for Visa with doing it from the card.
Press.
Apple Pay by far has the largest installed base of systems that connect to
When you
it.
say restaurants, you mean like a fast food, like a McDonald's or something?
McDonald's, even real restaurants, they'll often come up and you can
Oh.
just go up to the cashier and
Okay. if there's a
swipe it
cashier,
with,
as opposed
you
to,
go up and you put your
you
iPhone
don't
on
turn your
there.
phone over to the waiter,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Right.
Well, that's
And it's the customer charged or just the,
Yeah, and it doesn't, you don't have, there's no charges to you for using it.
okay.
There is in a way, it's just a little different than credit cards. They don't charge you, but somebody's
Yeah.
paying for it, so.
I know in China, 10 cent has completely replaced credit cards and everything else on smartphones.
Oh, really?
There's no cash transactions
Well, and this
anymore
basically allows
for
you to
10
operate the
cents.
same.
You know,
Really?
So, yeah,
Oh,
so,
even for a purchase as low as 10 cents?
as low as 10 cents.
I forget what the lower limit is for Apple Pay, but it's pretty similar.
Mhm.
And Apple Pay's nice because you can use it with more than one credit card.
Mhm.
And you have control over it, and you decide if that's what you want to use to swipe over it here.
Judy has a question here.
I notice a lot of people use their phones to get on board a plane by just putting it over their scanner when they're going.
Yeah,
through.
because usually what a lot of places do, that's not specifically having to do with these subjects, but if you have gotten a boarding information over an email, often it's got a barcode or a QR code on it.
Okay.
And so that's what it's actually scanning, is the barcode of the QR code.
Right, and my question was, can I get that from my iPad and do it over
You
the?
can. They don't care which one it is. so
Yeah, okay.
As long as you have an
I didn't
email
know.
that has a code for your boarding pass in it, you can go up. It's a lot more convenient for the flight attendants that have a smaller device,
Right, right.
but it will work.
But I can just hold it over there.
But what you've got to do is get your boarding information
Yeah, it's on the,
in your email.
right. Right, well, that's good to know. I didn't know I could use my iPad, but I'll do it next time. Good.
So that's Apple Pay. Another thing I was going to talk about, which people may not be aware of, which is very convenient sometimes, is to make a web page into a PDF. So PDFs are nice because they're portable. You can copy it to different places and so forth. So the way you do that in the browsers, and it's not just Safari, as I recall, you can do it in other places too. So if you see a web page that you would like to convert to a PDF, you click the export button. And somewhere over here, there's pre-PDF. If you go over to see that one,
Mm-hmm.
that will take what you're looking at and make it into a PDF. And then it will allow you to save it and you can do whatever you want with it after that. So for a lot of, go to a web page which has a lot of information on it and you want to remember it, you want to record it, you don't want to, the easiest way to do it is to create a PDF of the page and then you can take it with you, for example.
So as an alternative to a screenshot.
Yes.
Mm.
The difference is it's complete. It's got all the information,
Yeah.
including the text as text. So,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a little bit more convenient way of preserving the page information.
Right now, I'm on Facebook.
Mhm.
And say I want to take a picture of this page. How do I get that?
Did you see?
to
Now,
drop down?
it depends on the application. So, did you see one of those there?
No, there's not here.
Sometimes they'll do it via an ellipsis on the upper right. I don't know about. You're on Facebook on the web.
Yeah.
So he needs to press the export button.
Yeah, but they do it. Some sites make it enabled or don't make it enabled differently. So most sites use the export button like you see here.
Like, which is the export button? Okay, all right. So let's see if we can find it somewhere.
Toaster.
Toaster, yeah, I never thought of it that way, but yes,
Did you
yes, you're
notice
right.
the other two? Did you notice what he pressed up
No,
there?
but it could be look on the menu.
No,
Some
it's not.
of the sites override the default functionality and they make it available differently. It's hard to predict. Sometimes if you see an ellipsis, that's a sub-menu and you can press that and it will tell you what the choices are.
Yeah.
Let's try just one on Facebook and see what they have. Well, there's Facebook, I can do it there.
He didn't get that.
Here's the icon, I'm in Facebook. So if I go and press that export, it's the same thing, I get all the same options.
Yeah, it doesn't show that on here.
You don't see that icon in your Facebook?
I didn't, he didn't.
Can you point to the icon again?
It's this one right here, that's the universal
That
export.
says share,
Yeah.
yeah, that's your
Share or export.
Oh, export for share.
See, and you don't know if you can see from that distance what it's.
Let's see what we got going on here.
Well, are you on an actual page? No, are you, let's see if I go. It might be a settings that you've got. I don't know why it's not showing up.
Yeah, I'll look at it when I go on a regular.
I mean, generally speaking, if you can find that export, and I know there's a few applications that don't use the standard icon. They want you to have a sub-menu, so they have an ellipsis icon, but they basically mean the same thing, and they allow you to sort of share it or export it or whatever. Okay, so we talked about reader mode, we talked about Bluetooth, and I talked about using the pencil. So one of the features that they added in iOS 11 is automatic setup. So you only will probably use this once when you have a brand new device. What it allows you to do is get the setup of one device from another device you have.
So where are you again? What is it called?
And it does it all wirelessly, so you bring that device up next to it and there's an option for transferring your settings. Okay, and I think this is the last one we're gonna do today. So, often people ask, is there a tab key? Well, yes and no.
It says tab.
It isn't a standard tab. It's all up to the application to make it available. Okay? So specific apps can just add a tab key. So a common example is, for example, if I go to Pages, let's try that. Usually it'll show up in some way, shape, or form on the screen. So let me go to Pages. If I still have it. No. So. So if I go to Pages, for example,
You went to iWorks. So
well,
that's what you
Pages
call-
is the sub-application in iWorks.
Thank you.
iWorks is like Office for Microsoft, it's the umbrella application. But most people are using a specific application, which in iWorks is Pages, or the spreadsheet application, or the presentation application. Let's see, what were we talking about now? I've lost my-
Tab.
The
Oh,
tab, yeah.
Okay, so let's go to someplace. I'll bring up a document. It's got to be in editable mode, unfortunately. That's the problem. Okay, there we go. So if I get it so it thinks it's editing, like for example, I put the cursor next to some text on the screen, and this is where every application is slightly different. Excuse me. So what applications are allowed to do is decide whether they want to put a tab function on the bar above the keyboard. So usually it looks something like this, although I've seen other applications where it's not that. And if you click that key, it will ask you, did you want to indent the whole paragraph? Do you want to put a tab in? Do you want to outdent? So, and this will vary a little bit by application. Originally, there was no way to do tabs, and it was kind of a pain, unfortunately, but now it's there, and it's really easy to put it in. So. But again, you may not see it in all applications. You have to look for it specifically. Any questions on that? I'm trying to remember if Notepad has it. Let me just take a quick one.
No, no.
What does it have? Yeah, it's got a tab too. It just looks different. I don't know why. They all use their own way of describing it.
Now, which one was the tab? The arrow?
The one with the arrow over the paper
Yeah.
like that on the left, it's this.
No.
And then they give you choices. So if I click on that, it will give me, see, left, right. I forget what that right one does. So, like I said, that's up to the application developers to decide how they're going to show it. It's kind of surprising in this case because this is an Apple application and they don't use their own standard for the tab functions, but it's the way it is. Any questions on that?
Well, I'll have to play with it for a question.
That's what a tab key, tab.
I'm trying to think of where we want to stop here. I think I'm going to suggest we're a couple minutes early, but I think this is a good place to stop.
Could you go back just one screen or two where the memories addressed at the top?
Sure. Like I said, I will put this up on the
Right.
site, so you can get it.